Dear friends, I hope this finds you well. I want to share with you a really beautiful teaching that I believe emerges from this week's Parshat Vayakhel. As you might be aware, in the beginning of Parshat Vayakhel, it opens up where Moshe gathers the Jewish people and tells them what it is that everyone needs to bring in order to build the Mishkan. But immediately after, instead of going into all those details, he then brings up the mitzvah of Shabbat once again. Now, that's quite a strange juxtaposition. It's actually not that strange, as we'll see, but it's that juxtaposition, which is kind of out of place, which actually serves as the source for where we learn what we are not allowed to do on Shabbat. So the 39 melachot, the 39 creative acts that serve the basis of what we cannot do on Shabbat. So the different things that the different melachot, the different things we cannot do, we learn those out from the creative acts that were used to build the Mishkan. And it's because the Mishkan and Shabbat are placed next to each other in this week's Parsha that the sages say, that must be the connection. So therefore, these are the things that we cannot do on Shabbat because they are actually not enunciated. They're not expressed in the Torah. Nowhere in the Torah does it say what the full list of what you cannot do on Shabbat. The rabbis teach us that based upon this juxtaposition. But it's actually quite interesting. If we step back, this is not the only time that Shabbat and the Mishkan are juxtaposed. Actually, just a couple parshiot ago, the same thing happened, but in the opposite. The parshiot of Truma Tetzaveh, and then Kitisa, and then Vayakhel and Pekudei are clearly one unit, and there's a fascinating pattern that emerges. The beginning of Parshat Truma, we start to talk all about the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and everything that they need to build, and all the vessels and all the utensils. And then, right before the sin of the golden calf, which is clearly the apex of Parshat Kitisa, right before that, we have Shabbat, the mitzvah of Shabbat. So we have the Mishkan, we have Shabbat, and then we have the golden calf and the sin of the golden calf and the great tragedy. And then immediately after the golden calf, what happens? We go very quickly into the Mishkan, but then we have Shabbat and then the Mishkan. So it goes Mishkan, Shabbat, the golden calf, then Shabbat and the Mishkan. It's a chiastic structure, and it's a fascinating thing, and I think it can teach us a couple of things. Number one, I believe that this structure is trying to teach us that in order for us to avoid the pitfalls of what brought the Jewish people to the sin of the golden calf, we must understand what Shabbat and the Mishkan are all about. When the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, we believe that actually at their source, they wanted to feel a connection to Hashem. They just received the Torah. They just had this powerful, transformative, transcendent experience, experiencing the closeness of Hashem, and they wanted that. But instead of going through that difficult process of now developing the inner qualities to allow that connection to develop organically, they wanted that quick fix. The quick fix of connection. And so they settled for this kind of visceral, idolatrous experience of the golden calf. But at the root was connection. And so the Torah, by putting these bookends of the Mishkan and Shabbat on both ends of the golden calf, it teaches us that Shabbat today, Shabbat is the key for us to be able to experience that connection that we're all looking for. It's through Shabbat, through pulling back from this world, connecting to family, connecting to community, looking inwards, that we are actually able to find the true connection that we're all searching for. It's not through the golden calf, it's not through those quick fixes in life, but rather it's through the deep moments of Shabbat. And so Shabbat and the Mishkan are the bookends around the sin of the golden calf. And I think there's one more thing that it can teach us. You might think that after the golden calf, such a tragic downfall, such a tragic mistake, then maybe the Jewish people are not able to get back to that higher level. But I think when the Torah teaches us about the Mishkan and Shabbat, then we have the sin, and then it goes directly back into Shabbat and the Mishkan. It's teaching us that through tshuva, through repentance, we can get back to that level that we were at before. But not only that, we can actually get to a higher level. We know that when a person does tshuva, then they're actually true tshuva and repents and really understands what they did wrong and how they need to grow. we can get to the highest levels in a place that a Baal Tshuva, a person who has repented, stands. Even a completely righteous person cannot stand. So I think that this juxtaposition, this sandwich of putting Shabbat and then the golden calf and then Shabbat and Mishkan again teaches us that even if we make a mistake, through proper tshuva, through proper repentance, we can actually get back to that level and beyond. So please, God, let us internalize the beauty and the depth of Shabbat. Understand that we, just like in the Mishkan, we ourselves can be a place for Hashem's presence to rest. And we must continue to grow, even if we fall, to continue to grow and to push and to get to higher and higher levels. Shabbat Shalom.